The rain tapped restlessly against the glass windows of the corporate tower, streaking the night with silver lines. Inside the boardroom, the air was tense not because of the billion-dollar deal being discussed, but because of a game of chess set between two unlikely opponents. Across the table sat Aurora King, the youngest self-made female CEO in the city, sharp, untouchable, and notorious for her ruthless business mind. With jet-black hair pulled into a perfect bun and lips curved in a teasing smile, she leaned forward and said the words that would ignite everything. "Beat me in chess, and I'll marry you." The room gasped. Her challenge wasn't directed at a powerful rival executive or a billionaire suitor. It was aimed at the man sitting quietly across from her, a man with tired eyes and calloused hands. Marcus Hale. Not a businessman. Not wealthy. Not famous. Just a single dad who worked as a part-time janitor in her building. He blinked at her in disbelief. "Excuse me?" Aurora smirked. "You heard me. 3 moves, 1 game. You win, you get me. You lose, you work another year cleaning these floors without a raise." The audacity of her words made the employees whisper among themselves. They knew Aurora, she loved games, bets, and challenges. But no one expected her to toy with a man like Marcus. And yet, there was something in his gaze, quiet confidence, like a man who had seen storms and learned to survive them, that silenced the mockery. Marcus didn't laugh. Didn't back down. He simply adjusted the pieces on the board and said, "Fine. But don't regret your own challenge." What happened next stunned everyone. Within 3 moves, Marcus leaned back and whispered, "Checkmate." Aurora froze. Her confident smirk faded as she stared at the board, realizing she had underestimated him. The employees stifled their gasps. No one had ever beaten her, not in business, not in games, not in pride. And now a janitor, a single father with nothing but quiet strength, had brought her to her knees in the one game she ruled over. But this wasn't just about chess. It was the beginning of a story that would change them both. After the game ended, Aurora dismissed the crowd, but her thoughts kept circling around the man who had beaten her. Who was Marcus Hale, really? Through her assistant, she learned the truth. Marcus had once been a promising student of strategy and mathematics, even competing nationally in chess during his youth. But life had not been kind. His wife, Lily, had passed away 5 years ago in a car accident, leaving him to raise their little daughter, Maya, alone. With dreams crushed under the weight of survival, Marcus had given up a career in academia and taken whatever jobs he could to support Maya. Aurora, who prided herself on strength, found herself shaken. This wasn't a man who begged or complained. This was a man who fought in silence, sacrificing dreams for love. That night, she couldn't sleep. The look in Marcus's eyes when he checkmated her, steady, calm, unflinching, haunted her. Days later, Aurora arranged to accidentally bump into Marcus while he was working. "Tell me something," she said, arms crossed as she leaned against the polished marble wall. "How did you know you'd win in 3 moves?" Marcus glanced up from mopping the floor, a faint smile tugging his lips. "I didn't know. But I watched how you placed your pieces. Overconfidence is predictable." Aurora laughed, a rare, genuine laugh. "Are you calling me predictable?" "Only when you're trying too hard to win," he replied, his tone gentle but firm. That was the beginning. At first, their conversations were short, casual. But soon, Aurora began seeking him out. To her shock, Marcus wasn't intimidated by her wealth or power. He spoke to her like an equal, sometimes even challenging her ideas. And when she met little Maya, shy and wide-eyed, clutching her teddy bear, Aurora's cold walls began to crack. Maya adored her instantly. "Are you a princess?" she asked one evening, tugging Aurora's sleeve. Aurora, who had been called many things, queen, dragon, even ice, which felt something soften inside her as she knelt and said, "Maybe. But I think you're the real princess here." For the first time in years, Aurora felt something unfamiliar. Warmth. But the road wasn't smooth. Aurora's world and Marcus's world clashed violently. Her board of directors frowned upon her growing friendship with a janitor.
Rumors spread like wildfire, the CEO involved with a single dad from the maintenance staff? Unthinkable.
Meanwhile, Marcus wrestled with his own insecurities.
He didn't want pity, nor did he want Maya to be a burden. Every time Aurora offered help, he hesitated. Could he really trust someone like her, someone from a world so different, so far above his own?
One night, after a long day, Marcus confessed his fear to her.
You live in the sky, Aurora. I live on the ground. What happens when gravity pulls us apart?
Her answer was quiet but fierce.
Then I'll come down to the ground. Because what's the point of living in the sky if you're all alone?
It was the first time he saw her vulnerability. Beneath the CEO armor was a woman who, despite her wealth, had lived a lonely life, no family, no true friends, only power. And somehow, the single dad with a little girl was teaching her what love really meant. Just as things began to blossom between them, the storm came. A rival corporation launched a brutal takeover attempt, threatening to strip Aurora of her company. The media devoured the story, and soon the rumors about her relationship with a janitor became fuel for scandal.
The board demanded she step down to protect the company's image. Choose, they said coldly. Your empire, or this distraction. Aurora stood at a crossroads. And Marcus? He made the hardest choice of his life.
One evening, he knocked on her penthouse door, his daughter asleep in his arms.
It wasn't just a game anymore. It was love.
The night Marcus walked away from Aurora's penthouse, the city lights below felt colder than ever. He told himself it was the right choice, for Maya's safety, for Aurora's future. But his chest felt hollow, like a piece of him had been ripped out. Aurora, meanwhile, stood frozen by the door long after he left, her reflection in the glass window blurring through tears she had sworn never to shed. She had fought rivals, outsmarted billionaires, and built an empire from nothing, yet the thought of losing Marcus and Maya was the first battle she didn't know how to win. For days, silence stretched between them. The tabloids raged. Headlines screamed about the scandalous affair between a CEO and a janitor.
Investors pulled out.
The board sharpened its knives.
Aurora could have chosen the safe path.
She could have let Marcus disappear from her life and rebuilt her empire's walls, higher and colder than ever. But every time she sat at her office desk, her eyes wandered to the small chessboard she kept there. The memory of Marcus's calm voice whispered back to her, overconfidence is predictable. And for the first time, she realized the truth. She had been playing the wrong game all along. The final board meeting arrived, a grim gathering where the directors prepared to vote her out. Aurora walked into the room dressed not in her usual steel-gray armor of a suit, but in a softer shade of ivory. Her hair was down, her face calm, but her eyes, those eyes carried fire. Before anyone could speak, she placed a chess piece on the polished table.
A black queen. You all think I'm distracted, she began, her voice steady. That loving someone less wealthy, less powerful, makes me weak. But you're wrong. It makes me human. And humanity isn't a weakness, it's the greatest strategy of all.
The board shifted uncomfortably, and used to this side of her. She leaned forward.
If this company cannot stand by its leader when she chooses love, loyalty, and courage over vanity and greed, then maybe it doesn't deserve me as its CEO.
The room fell silent.
Aurora didn't wait for their response.
She stood, placed her resignation letter on the table, and walked out, her heels clicking like a final checkmate across the floor. The empire she had built was gone. But for the first time, Aurora King was free.
Finding Marcus wasn't hard.
He was back in the modest apartment where peeling wallpaper curled from the corners, rocking Maya to sleep with a lullaby his wife used to sing. When Aurora knocked on the door, he hesitated before opening it. His face was tired, guarded, as if he had prepared himself to let her go. But when she stepped inside, her eyes wet, her voice breaking, his world stopped.
I walked away from everything, she whispered. Not because I lost, but because I finally won. Marcus, I don't want a kingdom without you and Maya in it.
For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then, without a word, he pulled her into his arms.
Maya stirred awake, blinking sleepily at Aurora. Did the princess come back? Aurora laughed through her tears. No, sweetheart. I came home. The months that followed weren't easy. Aurora was no longer a CEO.
Marcus still struggled with bills. But something beautiful began to grow between them, something no empire could buy. They built routines together. Marcus cooked, Aurora learned how to fold laundry without ruining the shirts, after many failed attempts.
Maya filled the house with laughter, tugging them into board games and bedtime stories. Aurora also discovered something surprising: Marcus wasn't just surviving anymore.
With her encouragement, he began teaching chess at a local community center. His quiet brilliance inspired dozens of children, many from broken homes, to think, dream, and strategize about life the way he once had.
Aurora, too, reinvented herself.
No longer bound by the corporate world, she invested her savings into creating a foundation for single parents, inspired by Marcus's sacrifices. The woman who once measured success in numbers now measured it in lives touched. They weren't rich in the traditional sense anymore, but they were richer than they had ever been. One evening, as the golden sunset spilled across the living room, Marcus set up the chessboard. Aurora smirked, memories flickering back to their first outrageous challenge. "Beat me in chess," she teased, echoing her own words, "and I'll marry you." Marcus chuckled, moving his first pawn.
"Careful, Aurora. I've gotten better at this game." 3 moves later, she gasped. "Checkmate."
Maya squealed with delight, clapping her hands.
"Daddy won! Daddy won!"
Aurora rolled her eyes dramatically but couldn't hide her smile.
"Well," she said softly, "a promise is a promise."
That night, under the twinkling city lights, Marcus slipped a simple silver ring on her finger. It wasn't flashy, wasn't expensive, but it carried the weight of every sacrifice, every loss, and every victory they had endured together. Their story became a whispered legend in the city, how a single dad checkmated a CEO in 3 moves and won not just the game, but her heart. But for Marcus and Aurora, the true victory wasn't in chess or marriage. It was in learning that love wasn't about power or status, but about choosing each other through every storm.
Because sometimes, the greatest checkmate isn't on the board, it's in life.